Okay, Mel, that's good.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Melissa Pexton and I am the Policy Manager for Emergency Management at the WA Local Government Association. Thank you so much for joining us again today for our Local Government Showcase, where we'll be hearing from a number of local governments and sharing their experiences during this wonderful COVID-19 event. Today, I am grateful to introduce our CEO, Mr. Nick Sloan, who's going to say a few words and just introduce today's showcase. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much, Mel. And look, I'd like to share Mel's sentiments and thank look, this webinar is part of a series that provides an opportunity to share stories of how local governments are innovating to support their communities during COVID-19 in much the same way that you are finding new and innovative ways to keep your communities connected during this pandemic. We've been putting our minds to how effectively we can do that as well, and we've certainly found that running weekly webinars helps ensure that the sector stays connected, and importantly, we're all learning from each other during this time. To date, we've had around 365 people attend our showcase webinars, and I understand that there's another 150 registered for today's session. So to those of you that have registered, and to those that have participated in previous sessions, thank you very much for making the time, and we're pleased that you see value in this. All local governments are having to adapt their business to meet the changing needs of their communities at this time, and you're all finding new ways to deliver the important services that the community relies on. This is the third showcase that we've hosted, and we've already heard from 6 local governments to date. And I'm particularly looking forward to hearing from the City of Albany, the City of Vincent and the Shire of Augusta Margaret River, who I understand have all got really exciting things to talk to us about. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate each and every one of you for what you're doing to support your communities. I'm in the fortunate position to be able to share your stories and also your challenges with colleagues across the sector and across state government and other key stakeholders. And what I can say is, whilst it might not always be reflected in the media, there's a genuine understanding and appreciation for the strategies that are being implemented during this time under really unusual and dynamic circumstances. So congratulations on what you're all doing. Whilst we all want things to get back to normal as quickly as possible, these webinars and your stories highlight exactly what the sector is capable of, and it is extraordinary. I'm sure we can all agree there are many initiatives that will stay with us long after this experience passes, and I'm personally looking forward to hearing about the things that are happening across the 3 councils that have volunteered to participate today. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. I'm looking forward to hearing from our presenters and staying in touch with you all through these webinars. Thank you, Mel.
Thanks so much, Nick. So first off the rank, you've heard today that we are going to be hearing from the City of Albany, the City of Vincent, and also the Shire of Augusta Margaret River. We're going to start with the City of Vincent today. So presenting on behalf of the city is Mark Fallows, who is the manager from the Built Environment and Wellbeing area, and he'll just be presenting on the city's COVID-19 relief and recovery program. Mark, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, everyone. I am a technophobe, so hopefully you can all hear me. My normal role is managing public health and also planning compliance and building surveyors. But my COVID role has been probably 150% COVID and nothing else. So it's been I'm sure as many of you are aware, it's been a very fun and interesting journey. So I'm just going to share with you what our journey has been at the City of Vincent. And let's just call it COVID-19, our story. So once upon a time, in a land not too far away in the City of Vincent, we had this amazing thing here called COVID-19. And to be honest, looking at considering that this has been about 6 weeks now, it does feel like a long time ago, and it does almost feel surreal for what we're all having to manage in local government and in society in general. I am going to go straight to the moral of the story, which is that, first of all, public health is intrinsically linked with the health of our economy, environment and social structures. And being the manager responsible for public health, I've had a really big role in that link, and ensuring that we have really good relief and recovery in place to support our public health across all of society and within our organisation. We should and we can make effective, agile, evidence-based decisions. And that's what we've tried to do really strongly at the City of Vincent. And in many ways, we haven't really had too much of a choice to be able to do that. But it's really important to have really good decision-making frameworks in place. We've done that across all of our organisation and with our executive, and they've been really supportive. And thirdly, the Vincent team, community members, businesses, and other local governments can work together to develop innovative solutions to wicked policy problems. And this has definitely been a wicked policy problem. I am going to say unashamedly that we have been looking at what other local governments have been doing, and I hope that they've been looking at what we've been doing to really come up with innovations that work well for our community. So really my presentation today isn't looking at just at one specific measure that we've put in place. It's a macro overview of our story at the City of Vincent. But in terms of these 3 main points and the 3 main morals of the story, what I would say is that these 3 concepts do not just apply to COVID, they apply before, during and after COVID. And we're able to demonstrate, for example, with our IT capabilities and working from home, that we can do it when perhaps previously, when COVID wasn't here, we were thinking of all of the potential ways it could or could not happen. And part of my story will be to share with you how we did make that happen.
Mark, sorry, it's Evie. I think that the wrong screen's being shared at the moment. I've just had that feedback. So I'm just going to just change something around for 1 second. And I'm just going to make you a presenter again. And hopefully it will share the right screen. Sorry to interrupt. I can see your correct screen. I just need a bit of feedback from our IT as to whether they can see that one now. And thanks for your patience, everyone. We're really learning how to get 5 to 10 people online at the same time with different all different presentations. So it's still the incorrect screen. So I'm just going to have to do a bit of tech talk for a sec. Mark, where it says at the top of the little dashboard that you've got on your side that says sharing and it says show application, you can click an arrow and go down to what you want to share, and your presentation should be there. Can you see if you can do that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that right now.
Yeah,
I've got
great.
3 monitors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That looks really good to me. That even looks better than it looked before because I was fine with it. So I'll just check. I think this one's should be good now. So yeah, if you keep going, and really sorry to have to interrupt. Yep, I've just received confirmation it's fine. So thanks for that, Mark.
Brilliant. That was probably partly me. I did say I am a technophobe. Okay, so in terms of Vincent's response, and I'm just going to briefly go over this, it feels like ancient history now. we had to cancel a fairly large public event, and I know some other local governments had to do that, and that really was the starting point for our COVID-19 response. And ours was St Patrick's Day in Leederville, when we upset the Irish community, and it was probably at a time when people really didn't understand what the full extent in terms of the COVID risk was. But then from that point onwards, our organisation, we acted really quickly. Within the next week, we had everybody who was working from home, who could work from home, they were working from home, and that capability was implemented within 1 week, which is probably the best form of social distancing you can do within a workplace. Then centralised management of the COVID-19 response, and now the relief and the recovery, is led within our organisation by public health and executive. Our executive team is great. We meet daily and we go through what needs to be done in terms of responding to COVID. So the communication is fantastic within our organisation. But coming from a public health background, as a scientist, I've been really emphasising the importance of implementing a pragmatic scientific approach to COVID-19. And what that means is to avoid alarmist language, behaviour and messaging, to have an educative and sometimes a fun approach, because we need that, and to stay calm. In terms of decision making, we've adopted really pragmatic decision making. We tried to keep our community facilities open, but we implemented monitoring systems at BD Park and the library. And now we're implementing monitoring systems in our public spaces. So we actually collect data to decide how we are going to apply our resources to managing COVID-19. If there isn't an issue within a particular space, then we don't need to spend the money that we're spending on somewhere like Hyde Park for community messaging. We've also been really strong on preempting the next stages. And now we're preempting the unravelling stage and looking at what we are going to do in terms of managing the restrictions and when the restrictions will no longer be in effect. And the next slide I've got will show you what we've done. But also, just to show to you a few things we've done, we for our internal staff to get that calm happening through the organisation. These are webinar videos developed by myself and our OSH person, Jessica May, to really upfront explain to people about the physical and mental health aspects of COVID-19. And secondly, we had a bit of fun. As people were working from home, we did a bit of a film clip to Horses by Daryl Braithwaite, which our marketing team did, which was fantastic. And it was amazing how much these sorts of small but thoughtful approaches really lift the morale within the organisation and help us to really deliver good pieces of work during a time when morale can be a struggle to achieve. Now, in terms of preempting the stages of COVID-19, what we were trying to do was map how the public policy situation works for COVID-19. And this graph is just something I whipped up in March to look at how we were going to be affected. And so we literally graphed the public policy algorithm, looking at the reduction in movement and the reduction in gatherings, which were the two main ways that COVID-19 has been managed, and trying to preempt how we respond to these reductions, and also trying to preempt when the reductions will be coming into place. And so we had a really strong approach to be ahead of the game at Vincent and to work through that. And of course, it happened in a very quick and fast period of time. Then as a public health person, what I did within the organisation was to really have a strong questioning approach to our managers and our teams, and to have everybody reflect on the impacts of COVID-19 and how they needed to adapt. And essentially, we're controlling a hazard. And so the questioning approach had a whole series of questions. So what are your hazards? Have you done a risk assessment? What have we missed? And that's when we look at things like, for example, there might be a seniors club that could be in one of our community halls that we weren't thinking about. And so it's important to go back to these questions. What are your social distancing controls, cleanliness and hygiene? Really important for right now, how are you monitoring these controls? And we're looking at having documented systems in place across the organisation to have that monitoring in place. How do we accommodate the monitoring? And questions 7 and 8 are really around communication and messaging. So what are you communicating to your team and what are you communicating to the public? And I will talk about messaging in a later slide, but it is so important to get that right. And of course, our mental health and wellbeing strategies. When we're in that response phase, and we all were, I guess it felt very busy for us. It felt like we had a lot on, and we had to find a way to try and articulate how we could package everything that we're doing within our local government and have that accountability with our council. We developed the COVID-19 relief and recovery strategy and implementation plan, and I know many councils have developed similar documents. And I would have to say that it's been a really effective document in terms of managing the expectations from our council members and from the community and businesses and within our organisation. So it's like a nice, neat package. In terms of our particular strategy, and you're welcome to review it on our website and ask me questions at a later date as well. The right-hand figure just details what our framework is. So we've gone for a really, as much as possible, we've gone for a personalised approach to how we manage COVID-19. So we own it. It's our health and wellbeing, our community, and our organisation. And so that's pretty much the framework for how we have implemented our strategy. Our strategy contains 57 actions, and it involves every single business unit within our local government. So we're all in it together, and it's a really good unifying approach for us. It contains an implementation plan, which I call a living document, and by living, it's updated every single week and reported to our weekly COVID-19 Committee of Council. Some of the main themes from our strategy are that we are demonstrating good civil leadership, we're being accountable in terms of how we monitor our performance, we've got a communications approach, and there's also a strategic approach to take us out of that initial very strongly operational response, which is still very important, but we needed that strategic aspect as well. In terms of the communications plan, we're developing a COVID-19 community portal. I'm sure, like many of us out there, we're at that stage now where we've just come up with breath and we're looking at, well, how can we refine our communications? And so we're doing that on our website through this mechanism. We've adopted perhaps a different approach to some other local governments in terms of public health messaging, because a lot of the feedback has been that people have been genuinely confused around the COVID-19 messaging. And we've tried to reduce that confusion and just sticking to key messages, which are pretty clear from the Department of Health. So we've decided not to add to those messages and to use those and to adapt those messages to different environments. On the right-hand side, I have demonstration of visual cues that we've placed within Hyde Park to remind people, actually, well, this is what 1.5 metres are. Part of that was to not have an overuse of signage everywhere and anywhere, because after a while, people will get desensitised to COVID-19 related signage if they see it everywhere. So we're using other forms of cues. We have really tried, in terms of minimising the alarmist approach, we've tried to minimise use of things like hazard tape, and we've been really careful with our language around use of the term emergency and things like that. Not in a way to downplay what the situation is, but to try and maintain that level of calm and that we are still functioning as society as a whole. So around our main playgrounds at Hyde Park, we've got much more visually appealing bunting around the playgrounds as opposed to hazard tape. We also have really adopted an on-the-ground educative approach. Our Rangers teams and Parks teams have been fantastic. So they've moved from issuing tickets to actually going out and having conversations with people if they notice issues in our public parks. And all of our parks get visited 4 times each day. So that personalised community approach, including messages from our mayor as well, has been really important. And now we're, of course, in those first few weeks, social media was really the main communication strategy that we implemented, and now we're looking at more traditional forms to reach some of our more vulnerable communities. By the way, with these slides, I'm just giving a very brief overview of some of our actions, not all of them. So the full list is available on our website. Our public health plan is in development and it's full steam ahead. We decided not to delay the public health plan and to keep it up and running. Public health is more important now than it ever has been. And it's been a really good exercise because we're incorporating that public health recovery aspect into our public health plan, which will be implemented from the new financial year. Also, our environmental health services have been full steam ahead. They have not been affected. We've had that coverage out there with the community, and that's really important. We've been trying to engage with our physical activity businesses to encourage people to look after their physical health and also mental health, promoting flu jabs, and Beatty Park, which is our main community fitness facility, have been running online fitness as well. In terms of our community, we have developed a relief fund to go to public benevolent institutions to look after our vulnerable people. And we're going through an EOI process at the moment, which has been going really great. And we've just awarded some funds to some NGOs, and it will be an ongoing process there. I'm sure many of you have done Books and Wheels. We've also done the mystery books bag with our library. We've got some art release funding using our percentage for art funds to invigorate our local arts industry, and also looking at rent relief for community groups. We also have the Vincent Community Support Network, which is a network designed to encourage volunteering and pretty much helping each other out in the community, and we're promoting that quite strongly at the moment. Our businesses, we have our Open for Business online directory. I know many councils have done this, and it's a fantastic initiative. It's literally there to encourage people to buy local and still go out into our main town centres and support local businesses. Before the state government introduced changes to planning legislation, we implemented a planning amnesty for change of use to accommodate COVID changes, and our place managers have been doing health checks and advocating for our local businesses as well. We've really reframed how we deliver our services to our businesses. We don't, on our website, we haven't, or in our communications, we haven't flooded our businesses with all of the intricate pieces of information that apply to them. There's so much that applies to them, but we're having an emphasis on having an advisory style approach service for our planning, environmental health, building compliance and place, and other services as well. And also looking at our online capabilities. Within our organisation, I'm sure this is no stranger to people, but budget's really big at the moment. We're looking at redeployment. Health and wellbeing has been a really important aspect of managing our organisation we can manage that, then we can deliver better outcomes. Looking at financial measures for our community and businesses, so providing some relief there. Changing our customer service approach. We launched our Vincent Ideas program in the middle of COVID, which has been fantastic, and we're really trying to cement that at the moment. And also our service delivery. So we're developing really good systems in place to provide that service delivery and on the ground, and to keep that community aspect happening within the COVID restraint. It's really important to always reflect and evaluate on how we're going. And we have done organisational culture surveys and staff surveys to look at that. I can report that we're doing really well, and we're showing a really high level of organisational culture, which I'm really proud of. So just to sum up, I've tried to cover a lot in my presentation, but this is really a brief macro snapshot of our story. And if you'd like to know more, then you're welcome to contact me. Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much for taking us on that journey, and you're very right in thinking that it's only 6 weeks, but doesn't it feel like a lifetime ago? There was so much for me to take in from that one, and I liked the commentary you put at the beginning around some of the really big ticket items there, making those statements around the fact that public health is intrinsically linked with health, our economy, our environment and our social structures. I think when we think about other hazards or emergencies, this one certainly brings that to the fore first and foremost. And I really enjoyed the commentary that you gave around wicked policy problems, and the fact of sharing those ideas and responsibilities has really brought the City of Vincent to the state that they're in. So working in concert with your stakeholders in your community seems to have really reaped the benefits when I look at the rest of the story that you presented. And also some of those innovations, and I know your comment around your way that you've actually reframed some of those services to businesses, taking a bit more of an emphasis on an advisory services sort of role and uplifting in your online capability. I'm sure there was lots in there for everyone, and I think it follows on really nicely from a bit of a theme that's gone across all of them, which is about how it takes a whole of organisation approach and whole of community approach to actually get us through these types of events. So thank you so much for sharing that. We haven't had any questions specifically come through, but there will be some extra time at the end. So Mark, if you don't mind hanging around, if we get any further questions, we'll get that at the end. So now we're going to throw to the Shire of Augusta Margaret River. They too are going to share their story. And today we have Heather Old and Jodie Porter, who are going to talk about how their library service is responding to this crisis. And then we're also going to have another person in terms of Hope Sortis, who will present on the Shire's youth activities through the pandemic. So if I can hand over to Heather and Jodie, thanks for coming along.
Hello everyone, Heather Auld here, Manager of Library Services for the Shire of Augusta Margaret River. And with me I have our library technician, Jodie Porter. We thought we'd just take you through what's been happening down our neck of the woods in terms of our library services. So our takeaway library has definitely arrived. Click and collect was such a universal term. People understood it immediately, which helped our job enormously. So March 23, 12 o'clock, that was the day it all changed for us and many other libraries, of course, in Australia. We did look at our older staffing members. In libraries, we have quite a few who are of that age bracket that is most at risk. So we immediately set about making sure that they would be able to work from home, which is a little bit of a challenge in the country because internet infrastructure is always not that reliable. And of course, everybody's been trying to get onto the internet. So I'm glad to say that we have worked that out. It was also a very sad time because our volunteers are in the age group as well. So we've had to cease all volunteers working for us at the moment. And then of course we set about designing the new click and collect service. And we were very aware that people were getting a bit worried about the whole touching things, how long does the virus live on surfaces, etc. And we spent quite a bit of time working that out and spoke to other colleagues like Kim. Thank you, Kim, if you were around from Northam. Kim was a great help in getting some of the COVID safety procedures underway. And we're happy to share those with anybody who would like them. We're very pleased that the original 10 days of quarantine for all items has now been changed to 24 hours, now that the WA Department of Health has advised us. Our people have been our community's been very appreciative that we've kept them apprised of how we handle our items so that they can be at the lowest risk possible. So we started advertising everywhere we could think of, and we went live. So we've had a fairly big increase in usage. The focus we've had for our community is phone, email support. A lot of our customers know how to do our online services, but there's been a lot of new people who, due to the fact that they're at home, I suspect, and have the time, have been very willing to have a go at it. So we've been very happy with that. We're very surprised that jigsaws and games ran out quite so quickly. Obviously, everybody had got into the whole stay at home and have a games night, which we were very happy about. We're going to showcase some of the online services we've got, and we've been doing that with the community through all the communication methods that we have at our disposal. We have changed some things like the new parents program that we work with the local child health nurses, and they have started it on the health platform Scopia. So we're going to participate in that from next week. So the constant communication, as we've probably all found, our main way is through our blog, amrlibraries.com. So we do invite you to have a look at that. We launched the service with a blog post called Takeaway Library Has Arrived. It introduced all the measures that we had. We keep this at the top of the blog so that when people arrive at the blog, that's the first thing they see. We thought we'd just show you the pages. So this has been our main communication with our community, and it has led to great conversations by phone, by email, just helping people go through the process that's been fairly unfamiliar to them up till now. Had some lovely comments from people. They're very appreciative that we're actually doing something, because I think, as everybody realises, we all got caught out quite quickly that we had to close. So we're very appreciative of that. We have done lots of blog posts describing the types of e-resources that we have available for people, not just ebooks and e-audio, which is very, very popular, but also movie streaming and other services like resume assistance and that sort of thing. One of the things that we have in our libraries is a new books display, which is very popular with our readers. But of course, we can't do that now, they're not coming in. So we decided that we would try a virtual new bookshelf, which is proving really popular. So I'm very pleased to see that people are actually still covering it this way and can place holds on their items themselves. They can also see straight away that that particular title may be available as an ebook or an e-audio book, and they may be able to borrow that immediately. And that has proven very popular with connecting people that we have hard copy, but also online services with the same thing. We constantly talk to our people through our blog. Sorry about that one. And we recently did a blog post about a day at the library. it has proven very popular with our people because they're actually, because they're at home, a lot of our readers are either isolating at home or for some reason have been spending lots of time there. And they're very happy that we're communicating with them and showing them what it is that we're doing and keeping them up to speed, I guess, and click and collect, what they can do, how they can do it, all the things. We do spend time talking to people a lot on the phone, by email, which we're very happy to do. And here are some of the comments that have come through from various users of the library service. So, online services. I'll pass over to Jody now, and she'll just take you through the online services that we provide.
Hi, everybody. So yes, we have a lot of online e-resources. I'm just going to click through and take you through to our website to give you a quick walkthrough. So a lot of our patrons were already using our online services, but of course many were not, who are now turning to them. We're finding we're spending a lot of time assisting people who are new to e-resources, talking them through how to access a resource that's useful to them. So we have quite a lot. I won't spend a lot of time on each one, but I'll just give you an overview. We had an enormous increase in the use of our cloud library, which is our main locally subscribed ebook and e-audiobook service. Talking a lot of people through how to download the app, how to browse the catalogue, how to use that service. Of course, we also have Overdrive, BorrowBox. We have Romance Book Cloud and Audio Book Cloud, which has been given to us free of charge until the 31st of August by our vendor. That's actually available, I think, to most libraries in WA, if anybody else is interested, just as a goodwill gesture in acknowledgement of the times that we're living in. We've also found that we've had a big uptake in our lifelong learning e-resources. So a lot more people accessing Learn at Home programs, particularly who knew it in Universal Class. Two resources that didn't have a lot of uptake in the few months leading up to this, but suddenly are being well used. So people are obviously using their time to learn some new skills, keep themselves entertained. But we have language courses as well, touch typing, and Studiosity. So we've advertised for people to let them know that they can access a review of their resume, some assistance if they're redoing their resume, if they're going to be looking for work again in the future. So all of these resources we found we've had a bigger increase in the use of by our patrons. We also have movie streaming and of course the e-resources for parents and children. So a lot of people who are homeschooling have been using these resources, and again we've been provided some extra free resources by our vendors to help our community in these times. I'm just going to pop back in up to here. And finally, the research side of things. We've had an enormous uptake in the use of the online Library Britannica, which is great. We assume a lot of our children at home who are being homeschooled were using that for their projects, but we saw an enormous increase in the last couple of months with that one. So that's a brief view of our online resources. I'm just going to pop back into this and move on to the next slide. This is our final slide. It's just a short presentation. Did you want to take over, Heather, or I'll continue? So we've done a lot of communicating with the community. We're putting out blog posts very regularly, much more often than we normally would choose to do. We try not to overload people in normal times, but at the moment we're really finding it important to stay connected and to let people know what it is we're doing. because they walk past, the doors are closed, but they can see us in here. And although we've done a lot of advertising, there are still some people that we've yet to reach to let them know of the services we are still providing. So our message, as Mark said, the messaging is really important to stay, to maintain that sense that we are all in this together, that we are still here for our community, even though our doors are closed to the public temporarily. So we are trying to keep our tone light and humorous sometimes as well. And just telling people we want them not just to be safe, but also to be sane and try and make it as fun as possible. And we've had some amazing feedback. We don't normally get a lot of comments on our blog posts, but times have changed and people are responding and reaching out to us. And we've put some of our community's responses up on this slide. But one that really moved me at the time was I had a lady on the phone. I was calling to let her know that her books were ready for pickup. And she said to me, as an older person, she was isolating herself and she wasn't leaving the house except to get groceries and pick up her books. And therefore she was not seeing many people, not interacting with many people, not seeing many faces. And just what a morale booster it had been for her to just come to the library, see the familiar faces, be greeted by name, feel valued and welcome. So I know all the staff are loving that they're able to do something meaningful for our community. We don't know how long we'll be doing it, but we're kind of starting to settle into a sort of temporary normal. And that's our service. So I'll hand this back over to Walga.
Thank you, Heather and Jody. What a fabulous snapshot of a, ready to go. How quickly you must have pulled that together, and the click and collect and the takeaway library. I know in our house puzzles have been a big thing, and I've got two boys, a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old, so I'm not surprised that your puzzles and so forth have been snapped up so quickly. I just wanted to reflect on a couple of things in there before we hand over to Hope, I guess. And the message, particularly at the end there around your community's response, I mean, the resilience of your own organisation to be able to stand up a fantastic service, but just the resilience and connectedness that has provided and reinforced in your community. So huge congratulations to you, and thank you again for sharing your story. Hope, are you online ready to talk to us about the youth activities that have been running in your shire?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Fabulous. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jody and Heather from the library. So I'm the community development trainee here at the Shire of Augusta Margaret River, and I started my 1-year contract in early January, so at the very beginning of the year. And I'll just basically take you through what I do, what my position is, and how I've adapted, and how also our Youth Advisory Council has adapted to all the COVID-19 changes within our community. So this is me here. I'm standing there with Kate, the 2019 Community Development Trainee. My position basically is I plan and coordinate youth events and activities within the Shire, so that's from Augusta through to Quarrymup and surrounds. I work with our Youth Advisory Council, so that's a group of about, this year's group was, when we were meeting in person, about 25 people were coming each week, and we were just sitting around having a good chat. We were talking about things that were happening in our community and events that we wanted to go ahead, what they wanted to see this year, lots of brainstorming and just getting to know each other before we start really tackling events and event planning. I also, in coordination with marketing, of course, I run the youth social medias. So we do have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, which will come up in this presentation, which we use to communicate not only with Youth Advisory Council members, but general youth and anyone who can relate to some of the content we're putting out, and anyone who wants to be involved, really. We have weekly meetings that, have obviously changed in circumstance to the COVID-19 response. So before COVID-19 came along, we had a few events and activities planned. We had an Emergence Creative Youth event. So that's Emergence Creative is a festival run every 2 years by an organisation down here, and we'd never seen a youth aspect to that before. So we decided, let's do a music event at the skate park. And I'd worked with Yak, and we'd planned this all up until we'd put out all the promotion, booked everyone in. It was a week out of the event, and I get the news that I have to cancel. So my first event of the year had to be cancelled, unfortunately. So we worked around that and posted online, contacted everyone. We couldn't let that event go ahead. We also had we had a really awesome April school holidays event and activity program lined up with in coordination with the Surf Pro. So they hold a week-long event within the holidays where they just encourage healthy habits within the youth of the community. And we were also going to hold a behind the scenes Surf Pro tour, which has been really popular with the youth in the community. We also had a more of a bonding and leadership experience planned for Youth Advisory Council, where it's I think it's 3-day long camp in the April school holidays, where really get to know each other, bond, create those connections that weren't there before. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19, when they weren't able to go ahead, with Youth Advisory Council on its own, we were planning to do intergenerational afternoon tea, where we were going to share stories, listen to music, just get to really know each other from the different generations. And obviously weekly meetings held at the zone room next to the skate park so we can eat food, chat. It was really cool to see that as soon as we couldn't meet in the zone room, we'd actually just had our meeting on the Wednesday at 3:30, and then on the Friday I had to put out to them, sorry guys, we can't meet in person anymore. What do we want to do about that? Do we want to wait until we can meet? Do we want to meet every second week? It will change the time, etc. And they were really flexible. They wanted to keep going ahead with Yak. So we worked together straight away to hold meetings online via Zoom. So I just send them an invite out and they all join. Obviously with people in relation to their Wi-Fi connection and timing, do they have other stuff on? We do not unfortunately get 25 people, but we still get between 8 and 13 people joining our Yak sessions each week. And they're really keen to go on and still talk about what they're doing during their day and how this is affecting them, what they want to see, what they want to do. And the meetings are going for just as long as they were in person, so an hour and a half or even longer. I almost had one the other day that was 2 hours. They didn't want to get off. It was just a really good social connection for them to see each other on screen, even if they aren't their closest friends, and talk about their day and just share their ideas. And with the intergenerational afternoon tea, I'm working with another colleague about pen pal letter writing with the elderly. So it's like that closer connection where you get to that pen on paper sort of thing, and we're working together now to see how we can make this happen. So as soon as I discussed, as soon as we had the news that we couldn't meet in person, I posted this post out on our social medias that our meetings are now going to be held online. This is a screenshot from one of our meetings a couple weeks ago. And as you can see, they've really figured out how to use the cameras a lot more than I have. And they've, by the looks of it, been to space, been to Hawaii. But really, it's just the virtual backgrounds that I can't seem to figure out. So yeah, we get a good attendance every week, and they're really happy to see each other and have a chat. Some online activities that I've put together with Yak to put out online. We hold a series called Kahoot in Margs, which we've currently done 2 rounds of, each with prizes. So the first prize has been a $30 voucher to the caves and lighthouses, and then the second and third and consolation prize are just vouchers from local businesses to get that, like, the money back in when we can. So these were our first 2 posters for round 1 and round 2. Round 3 is going to be held next week, with the hope that our Facebook stays live and doesn't lock us out again. So that's another challenge I've overcome in this role and in this time, is that Facebook does actually lock you out. So we just have to work around that, I guess. In YAC, they decided, let's create a magazine. What's this magazine going to look like? How are we going to get it out? Are we going to have to wait until we're in person? How regular are we going to do these meetings? So this is just a screenshot of one of the cover that one of the YACsters has designed. And these are just a snippet of some of the pages that are included. So it's pretty much a free-for-all on the pages. They get to design whatever they want. It just has to go, obviously no explicit language and stuff like that, but they get to put whatever they want. We use a software called Canva, where we can all collaboratively design this magazine from home. So we don't even have to, I don't have to give them a password. I just give them the link, and then they can log on when they want to and edit their page. The really cool thing about this magazine is they made it really clear they didn't want it to be aimed at COVID-19. They didn't want it to be called the Coronavirus Magazine or anything. They wanted it to be a youth magazine full of activities, stories, all this different thing, personal accounts, anecdotes, of things that weren't even related to COVID-19. And it really shows that their priorities have really been kept up. We have a couple of articles in there about history, native flora and fauna. We have one about climate change. So it's just really cool to see that their interest right now isn't focused on coronavirus, and it's still that we want to see what everyone's different ideas are right now. And they want this to continue on after, when we can meet in person and we can hand out hard copies. At the moment, it's looking like this will become a seasonal edition. So we will have a mailing list, and once every 3 months, so during autumn, winter, spring and summer, people that are joined to the mailing list, which is set to go out next week, will receive this magazine, which is full of different reviews and activities and everything like that. We've also started, this was our first hashtag Connect Augusta Margaret River Challenge. It went for 10 days, and this is just a screen grab from our Instagram. Every day I would upload a post to our Facebook and Instagram asking a question or a statement, in hopes that we would get some replies. And every day for the 10 days we would get lots of replies from youth, and not only youth but lots of people within the community. And then the following day I would post a recap on the Instagram and Facebook stories, and it would just show how many people included. Some days we had multiple of these slides, and it also gives people a bit of inspiration if they see this and go, oh true, that art looks really cool, I might have to try that myself. And it's just a way of connecting everyone that lives within the Shire, a way to, even if you don't know that person, just bring them together and suggest ideas and stuff like that. We are hoping to put out another challenge. We're just going to wait and see what YAC want it to be. This was another program that we started this week. Like I said, with the Facebook malfunctioning and being locked out, it was supposed to be held last Friday. We had a few technical difficulties with the Facebook, and we were really flexible with Roger and Graham from the Shockwave Music local band school, and they were happy to do it on the Tuesday. So that's our poster, and then they just did a really cool half-an-hour live stream. A few questions were asked. Obviously, we've got over 500 views. I think altogether on the live we had about 110. And then once I post it, then anyone can see it as many times as they like. So that's really cool. This is a program that we're hoping to continuously run with different artists, from musicians through to actual artists, giving a tutorial and weaving. So it's really cool to see that everyone is coming online and listening and asking their questions and learning new things when we can't be there together in person. These are our social medias. So during this time, I've really tried to keep an active engagement of these social medias, so the community and the youth know that I'm there and YAC is there to help them. YAC is still open to anyone to join, so we have had a few members join online via Zoom, which is really cool. So they introduce themselves and just get to know each other that way, and then when we can meet back in person, we all know each other. So yeah, this is our social medias, and our Facebook profile at the moment is being converted to a page, hence the lockout, but that is in the process of being changed. So that's all for my presentation. I don't know. Yeah, so that's all.
Hope, thank you so much. I just saw on one of those last slides from your social medias that I think it was on your Instagram page, it had YAC, and then it said young and ready to make an impact. And what an amazing impact you have made. Congratulations on those really active engagement opportunities that you've managed to maintain during such an interesting time. Lots and lots of different activities there to take away. And at the end, I'm going to ask all of our presenters what they think might actually be things that they carry forward when these restrictions do lift and when we actually start to think about what our, back to normal or new normal looks like. So I'll be interested to hear, given the success you've had with those ongoing engagement with your youth, what you might consider will be continuing on as you go forward. Thanks so much. Our last presenters today are from the City of Albany. Rachel Handyside, our Marketing Officer, and Laura Condon, the Communications Coordinator, are going to share and speak about the Albany in This Together website. So I'll hand it over to Rachel and Laura.
Hi, Rachel, can you hear us at the moment?
You've got Laura here. Can you hear me?
Oh, Laura, yes, loud, very nice and clear, thanks.
Good. Cool, can you guys see that?
Yeah, that's great, thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm Laura, I'm the Communications Coordinator here at the City of Albany, and I've got Rachel Handyside with me, who is the Marketing Officer. So we want to take you through today just our response to the COVID-19 pandemic from a communications point of view. So we've developed this campaign, which is #Albany in This Together. Really, we wanted to lead it from a comms perspective, but it's probably the one thing we've done that's really combined all our departments. There's no one that's really left off. If it's not something we're doing that's being done differently, it's something that we're still doing to service the community. So we wanted to make sure that this was a project that, from a strategic point of view, made sure we encouraged the community to get involved with. It was really led from the front with the community and really just made sure that they kind of took control of it and made sure that they ran with it, I suppose, without the community getting involved. It's really just us, and that's not what we wanted to do. So I'll take you through kind of the strategy, the goals of the campaign, and then Rachel will take you through a bit more of the kind of the fun design elements of it. So yeah, we going into our goals of the campaign. So really, when we came up with this, the strategy was to provide a platform for the city, really to engage with the community. So our main elements was to support the economic, mental and physical health of everyone. There was no one we didn't want to touch with this campaign. It was residents, families, businesses, people living on their own, people from the City of Albany themselves. No one really was left out when we came to strategizing what we wanted to do. So I guess from a goal perspective, really, I think for everyone throughout COVID, it's remaining connected. The biggest thing about COVID for us and for everyone is that we're apart. So to get the community to start being connected, no matter how they go about it, whether it's via Zoom, whether it's via phone calls, whether it's hashtags, it didn't matter. We just wanted everyone to be supporting each other, especially from a regional perspective. So we wanted to focus on the future, which it's super important at the moment, especially as restrictions come off. The idea of the campaign is to, one, connect everyone, to support local business, but also we really want to make sure that this has legs and it's got longevity to see us through to beyond COVID. There's no reason that this can't be a 360-degree campaign and really morph into whatever it needs to morph into as we go through this pandemic and come out of it. So there's a big recovery phase to it as well, and it's a very, very flexible campaign. There's no hard or fast rules. It's just really everyone just getting along and being positive. So that's where we wanted to go, and I think it's pretty much where we're ending up. But from kind of a campaign aspect, we really wanted to delve into, once we have our goal and strategy, how we pick apart what we want to focus on and how we bring it all together as one kind of unit. I think the biggest challenge we had initially with this campaign when we first kind of came up with it is that we had a lot of people with a lot of ideas, and it's awesome, but we needed to really streamline these ideas and focus them into categories and into aspects where it was simple for us to create the branding, and simple for us to really communicate that message with our residents without confusing them. So where we've gone with that is, I think we focus on 3 different phases. So economic health, which from a local government perspective is incredibly important. So supporting local small business, whether it's from those who are serving takeaway coffee and trying to keep their doors open, to those who are completely shut and trying to move everything online, to those that are still open and still operating, because even if you are still operating, there's the potential element that people don't realise. So that was a huge aspect of what we're doing. So we work along the Albany Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the realm of connecting with the businesses that are struggling and that do want to be connected with and do need our help. We wanted to share local business initiatives, and that's really through the hashtag. So where we use the social media, and we've got the website, which we'll give you a look at in a minute. We really want to share what initiatives people are doing to remain open. And it's as simple as, if you've got takeaway lunch, take a photo, pop it on your Instagram, your Facebook, hashtag Albany this together, tag the local business, and we develop that continuity as we go through the campaign and encourage people to do that and really highlight supporting each other through this. We were pretty lucky. There's another lady who works within the city who has, off her own back, created a website called What's Open Albany, which we'll also give you a look at in a minute. But it's an incredibly awesome website. It's really easy. If you're a local business, you jump online, you pop in your details, and you say when you're open and what you're doing for what capacity. So we've kind of don't want to reinvent the wheel with this. We want to use what's already out there and support the community who are already doing things to support this campaign. So we've taken that on board, spoken to her, and now we're just helping her populate that and promote it as much as we can, and promote it together. The next, I suppose, element to what we wanted to do was mental health, which I think within this COVID-19 pandemic is a huge focus, and I think it's a focus that's probably not going to go away, and it's one that's probably going to increase as we go through the economic hardships that we're going to feel. So from a mental health perspective, it was all about, for us, finding those online resources which were already created that we didn't have to spend too much time reinventing, trying to figure out how it worked. It was just a matter of getting it and just repurposing it and making sure people knew about it. A lot of this is just getting people to know about what's out there rather than them sitting around not knowing and stewing in their own isolation. So by sharing the online resources, whatever they might be, from entertaining kids to taking a walk, how to what you can do, what you can study online, the free courses, all sorts of stuff we can focus on, the ways to stay connected remotely. And then a good big part of the mental health aspect was focusing on our city services that have remained, like waste collection that people needed to know about. Like there's a lot that we're doing from a trades perspective that's still going on. There's projects that can still happen. So it's focusing on how that service is going to be beneficial for the community, but also how places like the library and our leisure centre have changed to adapt to be able to still support our community. So, the idea is that we haven't gone anywhere. We're very much still here, And in fact, we're more present than ever before because we want to stay connected. So that's through sharing videos and blog posts across our website, which Rachel will take you through. And then just off the back of that is the physical health. So effectively working from home, because a lot of us are now. And if you live alone or you live, with other people, it can be they both can be just as bad as each other. So figuring out that balance of, working from home and still maintaining that connection with the outside world, and just things like eating well in isolation and easy exercises, and how that really affects your mood and your productivity, and how this whole isolation process in Albany can actually not be as bad as it sounds if we put these little measures in place to support each other. So from an internal perspective at the city, we have had an incredible amount of support from all of our business units, all of our departments. There's so much, like I said, a lot of people with a lot of ideas, which is incredible. And we've been really successful in honing those ideas and making them something which can be incredibly useful and really help the community. And we've had an incredible response from the community and from people internally. So just a couple of examples are on your screen now. So one that we launched this week was our Meet the Maker series. So that's done through our Vancouver Arts Centre. And we've had a lot of feedback from the Great Southern Arts community that they're really struggling, which is, I think, across the board with venues closing and that physical intimacy gone for them to really have live gigs and exhibitions. So our Meet the Maker series is simple and effective, and it's had media exposure now, and it's been well received. So we feature artists every Monday, and we do a blog post on our website. We put it on our Facebook page, our Instagram, and we share across our multiple pages across the city. So at the moment, that's doing really well for us, and it's something we can always keep going after COVID. There's no reason that can slow down. We want to support our local artists and our local businesses regardless of COVID-19. So off the back of that, VAC are looking to do a live stream Sunday sesh as well, which we're looking at the logistics of now. And then we've got a Sustainability Sunday for our waste team. We've got they're doing community documentary screenings. There's just a lot going on for our whole city community. So it's nice to see everyone getting involved, and we've got so many ideas thrown at us that I think we can actively get through the next few months and keep having stuff coming out of the campaign, which is awesome. So on that note, will transfer you over to Rachel, who will take you through a bit more of the fun design aspects and branding of the campaign.
Hi everyone, it's nice to join you. So we've been really lucky to have the support of council along this, and they've been on the front foot and leading from the front and contributing community blogs themselves. So we're staggering the approach to that a little bit. We started off with 3 councillors. One councillor led us through a garden tour, another led us through a day in the life, and one of our other councillors is taking her kids on a whole heap of walking trails and getting her kids to review them. So it's been good to have that community interaction, and they're proving incredibly popular with the public as well. But we're also asking the community to really collaborate with us and come up with some really fun blog posts and things for the community to do. So yeah, we've touched on how artists are getting involved, and how our local waste contractor Cleanaway is getting involved as well, providing waste and sustainability tips alongside our own waste and sustainability crew. But the Museum of the Great Southern, which is WA Museum state body, has really come on board as well, and is writing some blogs and things to go alongside that. We're also in conversation with seniors groups and schools, as well as just different community interest groups. And so, yeah, we're working on some really fun blog posts and really good ways for the community to get involved and, really share in this experience as we go through it. So in terms of campaign delivery, we've tried to focus on some really distinct visual style. So bright colours, something which is really uplifting and positive, and easy for people to interact with. We didn't want anything to be too wordy. Everything's quite short and sweet and to the point, and kind of in a BuzzFeed article sort of style, if you follow along with BuzzFeed. Yeah, so we've got a very integrated social media and web approach. We try to recognise that not everyone in the community wants to and is involved with social media. So we built a website to go alongside that, which we'll show you in a minute. But what we've found that's really popular is Albany-based content written by Albany people. So one of our most popular posts is where you can get emergency assistance in Albany. So people are really looking and craving that content, which is something that they can relate to themselves and something that they can do themselves whilst they're in isolation at home. So yeah, we've broken the campaign down into 4 sections. So we've got boredom busters, which are essentially just things you can do at home to stay busy and keep entertained. And our Albany Public Library and our Albany Regional Daycare are really involved with that. We've also got our Sustainability Sunday things fitting in under there. Like a lot of people are starting to get involved in gardening and composting. So things have really fit in well under that boredom busters category, with a lot of videos and things integrated with that. So it makes it easy to digest it and read it. Next is connected community, and that's really focusing a lot on the mental health side of things and connecting people to community groups which they may not have had time to work with in the past, or just connecting them in with groups which they're already involved with and finding out how that they're now adapting to being online. A really good example of that is actually our Youth Advisory Council. They're doing a selfie challenge, which is going really well, and they're also interviewing young adults in the community and seeing how they're coping with life during COVID-19. So those blog posts have been really, really popular. We've also got the support local aspect of the campaign, which is really supporting our different businesses. That one takes a little bit more work. We've got to contact all the businesses and really have an open conversation with them about it. But it's really popular as well. So once those blog posts go live, they perform really well in terms of statistics, and people are really looking for how they can support local because they're aware that, you know, economically we will struggle long term. So Albany people are trying to really get behind their Albany businesses. And then finally, we've got Move Your Muscles, which is got a lot of integration with our Albany Leisure and Aquatic Centre social media, as well as just some apps and suggestions of things you can do at home. The good thing about that is we've been able to plug in directly with social media from Albany Leisure and Aquatic Centre, so we're not reinventing the wheel all the time. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of growth in the connected community and support local area because they're the 2 ways that the community can really jump on board with and get involved with quite significantly. So that's really working well for us. So now to the fun bit, the show and tell. So we've built a custom website for this campaign. And the one that we think will really show off is the support local aspect of it. So it's got a few little tips and tricks and things you can do there, but we're working with one of our staff who has put together this What's Open Albany website, which we've managed to include in. And that's been really great. It's easy for businesses to use and to update their listing. And just for example, if you're looking for food and beverage, it's got it all there. So one thing we are working with our mapping system team in the background is we're going to develop a map which is clickable, which shows who's open and who's not and what they're offering. So that should be able to be delivered within the next week or so. And the connected community one is also performing really well. So that shows we've got the Meet the Maker, we've got our West Australian Museum, Great Southern in there, and a lot of the projects that we're working on with our Youth Advisory Council and councillors in there. So the blog posts are, well, this one's quite long because we've got lots of interviews, but really easy to read and really visual heavy. So I think people are, yeah, jumping on board and really connecting with it. Boredom Busters, again, we've got a few different tabs here as it's growing. So we've got WA Museum and Sustainability Sunday, and both of those pages are performing really well. People are really looking for ways to get involved in sustainability whilst they're in isolation. And we're also seeing a massive uptake in following us on Instagram. So people, as they're having a bit more time, they're spending a bit more time on social media. So our Instagram channels are really blowing up, and it's showing to be a really good way to communicate and connect with our community, and a massive uptake of our hashtag on that platform as well. So what's next? Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we've got an interactive business map in the works. So that's a week and a half away or so. We've got further community involvement. Yeah, and a bit inspired by and working with our neighbour, the Shire of Denmark, we've got an online events calendar is in the works as well, starting with community catch-ups every day, just a Zoom call. Anyone can join in and just see how they're going. We've got the Sunday sessions with local musicians coming up. And also, I'm not sure if many people have followed along with the Mosaic project in Perth, but we'll get members of the public to submit photos and we're hoping to project them in our visitor centre windows and then long-term potentially in vacant shop windows down our main street, just to support the economy and hopefully get people out and about and exploring the centre of our city. Yeah, and we're still working with more businesses, and we're working with our community development team to take the content of this website offline for the elderly and the remote who don't have access to the internet or don't understand how to navigate this website. So we're really trying to make sure that we're working with all members of the community on this. Yeah, and as the COVID-19 emergency progresses, we'll mould this and shape it to fit what the community is looking for and what the community needs, rather than making them adapt to what we can do. So yeah, we're really working closely with our community on this, which is exciting. Yeah, and that's us. I'm so happy to hand back to Olga. Yeah, but follow along with us. We'd really like your feedback and follow along with how the campaign is going.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura and Rachel. Really good to hear about that website and campaign, and I'd love to jump on it myself at some point soon. It looks fabulous. So this is Evie. I've only received one question so far, but I have received a number of compliments on your fantastic presentations. So I'll just go to this first question, and sorry, Mel, I think I accidentally muted you. So the first question was for Augusta Margaret River. It was, how have the restrictions and border controls impacted on unemployment in Margaret River and Augusta? So I'm wondering if one of you would like to speak to that, Heather or...
I can answer that. I think being a predominantly tourist town, there's been huge unemployment, and a lot of, the restaurants are closed, the cafes are closed. They're all responding in different ways. Some have just closed completely, so therefore their staff have been laid off, or they are looking into some sort of takeaway services, and that's growing every day. There's a Facebook page that communicates that to everybody, and I've noticed that there's been a lot more wineries even now doing takeaways and deliveries around, so they're obviously trying to keep some of their staff going. It did hit in the middle of the picking season for the wineries down here, so that's had a market impact too on the short-term workers that come to the area, which are mostly travellers from elsewhere. So that's had a huge impact, and how to deal with having these people in the community that are now homeless. They've got no money. Where can they go? They can't get home. They can't get out of the region. It has presented quite a few problems, but economically, it's had a huge impact. There are a lot of people that I know personally that have just literally don't have their jobs, and our shire often has people have 1 or 2 or 3 part-time jobs, and they're just not existent now. So I think that answered the question. Hello.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. Yes, I think Mel and I are wondering who should go. So yeah, thanks for answering that question, and yeah, definitely thoughts are with Augusta Margaret River, with people in that situation. I've also received a question offline, which Mel may like to talk to as well, but if any other presenters are interested, I'll open it up. It's from the City of Canning, and they've said that they've implemented a number of projects to support community connectivity and reduce the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of this involves working with community champions and agencies to identify and support our more vulnerable members of the community, which in turn will form a key aspect of the city's social recovery process. That said, So this Shirley from Canning is interested to know how many local governments have activated their LEMA and or local recovery coordination group, and if so, in relation to the latter, to what extent are elected members involved? So perhaps Mel first of all, and then I might open that up.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in hearing from our presenters if any of them have utilised their framework under the Emergency Management Act with their local emergency management committees or their local recovery coordination groups to do that, and then I guess I could wrap up. So would any of our presenters like to make a comment on how they have gone about those considerations?
Yes, I don't mind going for Augusta Margaret River. I haven't been involved with the groups, but definitely there's been the incident management group or team was enacted immediately, and also the recovery group has been working through their plans. I think they have plans to present that at one of the next webinars, is my understanding, but definitely it's all in place, and we had a lot of strategic plans ready to go when after the fires in 2011. So our Shire has done a lot on emergency management and recovery phase.
I'll just go on.
Thank you.
That's okay, Heather.
Oh, Hope might have some more, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Oh,
actually, as I'm part of the community development team, I am immediately part of the recovery team. And directly in my position, I'm focused on the youth side. But I know we have, there is the wellness team, which has been doing ring-arounds to not only people that work within the Shire, but to vulnerable community members as well. But as Heather said, I think the directors are looking at doing a future webinar explaining more of our community recovery and action plan, I guess.
Thanks, Hope. I'll just check in with either Mark or our friends from the City of Albany. Did anyone want to make any comments from their Shire or city's perspective?
Yes, it's Mark here. I'll go first.
Thanks, yep. Mark.
So I think with my presentation, we explained that the principal mechanism we're using is the COVID strategy and COVID committee. So it's certainly we're mindful of the local emergency management arrangements, and often when we think about emergency management, one of the things that we don't always think about in our scenario planning is a pandemic. But now the focus is shifted to that economic recovery and social recovery phase. We're really trying to centrally manage that through the strategy and committee, and being mindful of economic, emergency management arrangements.
Thanks, Mark. And I think was City of Albany chiming in, either Rachel or Laura before?
Yeah, yeah, I'll chime in. This is Laura. I guess from our perspective, from the get-go, we've had kind of an emergency strategy and management in place. From a comms perspective, which is where I kind of chime in, it's been super important for us to be the conduit between the state government and the federal government's information resources and the community. So there's naturally a lot of questions that people have, and as a local government, I think we all are in a position where we get those questions. So it's been a really important part of how we respond to the community, is making sure that everything we do give is accurate, and is accurate for the state and also at a national level. So I think from our perspective, all our comms has been led by that for at least the last, what is it, a month, 6 weeks. So like Mark said, I think we're all transitioning now to this recovery phase, which is where our marketing and comms campaign comes through, and where a lot of our teams sit now in making sure that the community are in the best place to come out of this better off and as unscathed as we possibly can. So I think that's where our priority lies at the moment, is just in that community encouragement and positive support.
Thanks so much, Laura. Just, I guess, in adding a little bit more to the EM side of the house, we did at our first webinar a really good snapshot from 3 local governments around how they were standing up their structures. And it became really obvious, as Vincent has explained, or everyone actually has today, that whilst the emergency from a state and Commonwealth perspective is certainly being run through an emergency management sort of legislative powers point of view, that a whole raft of things come into play when you're a local government, whether that's through the Public Health Act and the inclusion of environmental health officers and public health considerations, whether it's emergency management and recovery, as Augusta Margaret River has talked about their own experiences from past events, or whether it's through a business continuity lens. So in terms of LEMCs and LEMCs and your LEMAs, they certainly have given, from what we're hearing, some insight into how to sort of go about this, but they certainly haven't been the be-all and end-all. I think as we move through to recovery, I'm not sure if anyone who is still online chimed in to hear Minister Logan, the Emergency Services Minister, and Ms Sharon O'Neill, who's been appointed as the State Recovery Controller last Friday, but they very much recognise that local government have a whole range of capability from their past experiences with recovery in other events, and that will certainly be coming to the fore. And I certainly have heard that through all the presentations today in terms of those considerations going forward. So I think that as we've had reinforced to us time and time again, that whole of organisation approach, understanding your local community and adapting and innovating your services to them is going to stand you in really, really good stead as we move forward into that recovery phase. And I guess with that, I recognise that we're just about to tick over time. So unfortunately, we probably won't be able to get back to any other presenters. I will just wrap up. I noticed on Albany's slide on your website, it's it's business unusual in Albany, and I think that's something that we're all being confronted with over the last 6 weeks, as we keep saying. And I really liked from Albany the way that they talked about utilising your local content, and that Albany people are craving Albany content. And what I've come to listen and hear from these fantastic presentations we have week in, week out, is how clever everyone is at being able to adapt and really drive home those community messages. So from all of us at WOLGA, we thank our 3 presenters from the City of Albany, the City of Vincent, and the Shire of Augusta Margaret River today for sharing your stories with us. This is really a good news day when we get to share these stories. So thank you so much, everyone, for chiming in, and we wish you all the best over the weekend, and hopefully you'll join us again next week. Thank you, everyone. EBR